For my latest photo shoot, I came up with a fancy snowy picnic in the forest. Decadence was the bottom line here. I set up a scene with tasty treats, sparkling cider, and I sat on a furry blanket. And then I wore bright colors to stand out and enhance the surreal quality of the photos. Why? The photography theme this month is Happy December, and I have been trying to capture the spirit of the season, to me, in my photography. This week, I have a photo shoot to share with you that plays into the idea of a winter wonderland. In this video, I'll share some photos and some pointers I have for shooting in the snow. VIP members and Zion level patrons on my new Patreon page, head to your respective sites to get all of the behind the scenes video and the entire gallery of photos. I'm a big fan of heading out into the great outdoors for photography. If I can find a great location, get there at sunrise or sunset, bring a camera and a model, I don't need much else. I love using my location and the natural light to capture beautiful portraits. Conversely, studio work can be fun too, playing with lighting and such, but I typically prefer a simple setup. A couple months ago in October in Disguise, I stepped outside of that comfort zone and used costumes and more elaborate setups. I had a lot of fun doing it. I kind of suspended my sense of reality and took things a little over the top. That got the ball rolling for me to think up some similarly elaborate photo shoots where I wasn't necessarily in a costume for Halloween. That's where this week's photo shoot inspiration started. I thought, what can I do in the wintry, snowy forest that is even a little bit silly because it doesn't totally make sense? Now, shooting in the snow isn't an easy task, especially when I'm the model and I'm trying to convey what each shot should look like to my trusty companion Raymond, who was taking the photos. I have a few tips for you though. Things that I just came up with for times like this to make the shoot go more smoothly. Some of them are specific to snow, others are useful for any type of shoot. First, let's talk about exposure. Snow does make it challenging. There is an amount of personal preference here. I was not using any lighting. There's the bright white of the snow and the darker form of me as the model. In this case, I typically expose towards the snow so that I don't lose all the detail to highlights, and then I deal with bringing up the shadows a bit in post-processing if I need to. I've said before that I'm not a big fan of sitting at my computer doing post-processing, but sometimes it's a necessary evil. Now, I had my heart set on shooting in the snow, but the expected snowfall fell short. So we drove out of town where we knew elevation would increase, and therefore there would be more snow, and turned off on a forest road. We found a spot that had some patches of snow and chose a patch that was on a slight hill so that the snow would rise up behind me. This way, we could frame the images so that you wouldn't see the bare ground around me. That being said, I was sitting in the snow. So that I wouldn't end up with a cold, wet behind, I laid a fleece blanket down on the ground underneath the faux fur blanket. And when I said lay it down, I really meant like tossed it down because I wanted to prevent footprints around me. So I tossed stuff over there, jumped on myself, and then Raymond handed me the plates that I had already loaded down with the goodies. We were like leaning over the snow. That brings me to my next tip, which is preparation. I knew it would be cold, so I had things as prepared as I could prior to getting there so that I wasn't spending a ton of time getting dressed and arranging the plates and considering poses. I visualized a bunch of shots in my head and explained them to Raymond on the way to the shoot so that we could move through quickly before I turned into an ice cube. And that makes me think of my last tip, which is cold. Get used to it. If you're shooting in the snow, you're going to be cold. Do your preparation so that you can hit the ground running. And I had a jacket and boots that I shed prior to jumping into the scene, and Raymond was pretty bundled up, but know that you're going to be cold and just be okay with it. Because if you don't, you won't have a good time and your shoot probably won't turn out very well. That's it for my tips for shooting in the snow. However, if you want to see more from this shoot, there is a link in the description of this video. Follow it to see a sample photo along with technical specifications like the camera, lens, and settings. Plus, my VIPs and patrons will be able to log in to see more behind the scenes video and the entire gallery of images from the shoot. If you want to learn more about supporting my mission so that I can make more content like this, and you can see more content, take a look at my Patreon page. You can get to it at the link above. You'll also see a little picture of me where you can subscribe to my channel on YouTube.